Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Sapience Thoughts, where we discuss theophilosophical issues, where we refute the arguments of the detractors of Islam, in addition to making our own arguments for the veracity of Islam. Today, inshallah, we're going to be talking about a hadith which is all over the anti-Islamic apologetics type websites, and it's in their publications and their videos online, which is a hadith which says that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man tasabbaha bisab'a tamarat ajwa, la yadurruhu summun wala sihr." That whoever wakes up and consumes 7 dates of ajwa kind, that poison will not afflict him, and sihr, which is magic, will not afflict him. And they say this is an unscientific type of hadith, because they say, how could it be the case when the chemical agents or properties within the dates, there's nothing within them that would indicate to us from a scientific perspective that they could be immunizing to things as chemically destructive as poison. So how can you understand this hadith? And doesn't this hadith fly in the face of 21st century scientific discovery? Now first, in order to answer this question, let's take a look at what some of the commentators of this hadith of all time have mentioned. So for example, Al-Khattabi, who is a scholar of the 4th century, died 388 AH, he says actually it's not because of a specific property within the dates. He says there's nothing within the date that actually has that immunizing capacity. He says, لا لخاصية في التمر. It's not because of a specific characteristic or attribute in the date. وإنما is because of the da'wah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the blessings of the da'wah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And many of the scholars have looked at this hadith in this kind of way. Ibn al-Qayyim said no, it's for a special time and a special place, and it's not applicable to us. Al-Qurtubi said it can only be seen to be applicable to us if it goes through the experimental method and succeeds, in the sense that we can actually prove that the dates are in fact immunizing to poison. And this shows us that the commentators of hadith had a very sober approach to science and hadith, and science and Quran. They understood that sometimes these are two separate areas of jurisdiction, if you like, and sometimes they have an overlap. Now, before we continue with this hadith, the opinion of Al-Khattabi, which says it's not a specific property in the date, seems to be well represented if we look at other hadiths, because there's another hadith which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us in the what you call the evening supplications, or Adhkar al-Masa, which we should all be making, by the way, Adhkar al-Sabah wal-Masa, beautiful supplications we should be making in the morning and the evening that will cause protection for us and so on. One of these words of protection is أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. That I seek refuge with the perfect words of God from the evil from which He created. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said about this, he said, whoever says this, لم يضره شيء. He said that whoever says this, nothing will afflict him, or no harm will afflict him. Now wait a minute. If the date hadith was intended to be an immunization, a physical or chemical immunization, then how comes we find similar or even more generic types of terminology used in other hadith? If you think about this, this cannot mean it's a physical thing, because this is a supplication which doesn't necessitate any consumption of anything physical at all. So this hadith of the dates, from that perspective, it follows that it wouldn't be because of the properties of the date, but it's because of the ibadah, or the worship of eating 7 days. So it's a worship, just like drinking Zamzam water is a worship, just like doing wudu is a worship, just like making dua is a worship. And yes, we believe if you do that particular worship, Allah will protect you. Yes, from from poison, and yes, from sihr. Yes, He will, unless there is a mana. And the mawana, or the preventers, can be many. Like for example, to give you an example, there is a hadith which says that if you make dua, if you supplicate to God, but then your actions, your income, and your consumption is all haram, it's all impermissible, then فَأَنَّ يُسْتَجَابَ لَهُ, how can it be that your supplication will be accepted? Even though the Quran says, فَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. That if my slave asks me about me, then say I am near. Then I am near. I answer the call of the caller when he calls. So Allah is telling us He's going to answer our dua, but in other parts of the Sunnah and the Quran, He indicates to us that actually there are mawani' to dua, which are, for example, if you have haram income, if you commit sins, and so on and so forth. Thus, the same kind of principle can be understood with this hadith of the dates, which is that in general, yes, you eat the 7 dates, and yes, you will be protected and immunized from these things by Allah's will, so long as there's no mana, so long as there's no preventer. In much the same way as you will ask Allah for whatever you like, so long as it's halal and it's not doing haram, and Allah will answer you so long as there's no mana, there's no preventer, and that's impossible to disprove from a scientific perspective. And I hope that answers the question. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.